November 8 was a day much like this. It was hot and it was windy when news broke of a potentially catastrophic emergency unfolding right here at Sydney Airport.
Qantas 520.
Hello, emergency teams are right now at Sydney Airport.
An investigation is underway after a frightening trip for passengers on board a Qantas flight, the plane experiencing an engine failure.
Current fuel on board 7.4 tonnes.
The fact that it happened at the most critical phase of flight, it could have been a disastrous situation.
The incident immediately raised questions. How could this have happened, and could it happen again?
Safety trends are the most important aspect of determining whether there's a systemic problem there or whether it's not a blip.
Qantas 520, Sydney Tower, Pan acknowledgement.
In the case of flight QF520, the fault is thought to have originated in the turbine of its right engine, which was almost 2 decades old and nearing the end of its working life.
We always want to learn from that event. From the engineering perspective, we're still gathering information and understanding more about the failure.
It's suspected one of the blades in the high-pressure turbine broke, sending hot debris onto the grass, sparking a fire.
We're working with the engine manufacturer at the moment to get a better understanding of what potentially went wrong and whether any other indicators that could have been picked up earlier before this actually failure took place on a live flight.
What do you think this does to the airline's reputation of being a safe carrier?
I think this actually enhances it because we know that operational events will always happen. This particular engine has billions of hours of flying across the world. It's one of the most used engines worldwide, and we are constantly making sure that we understand any issues with the engines to make sure that we can proactively address them ahead of events occurring.
The public's perception is probably different to an aviation perspective. They saw, I guess, a failed flight and a fire on a runway here in Sydney.
Yeah, we obviously understand that these events can be disconcerting. We can give reassurance that at Qantas safety is our #1 priority.
At the Flying Kangaroo's Los Angeles hangar, another jet was subject to another investigation recently released.
And it really was a cascade of errors.
VHOQI, a Qantas A380 Airbus, was serviced over several days by several maintenance staff, and despite several checks, this 1.25-metre nylon turning tool was left in one of the engines on December 6. 25 days later, it was found like this, deformed by airflow after flying multiple trips between the US and Australia.
Probably akin to an operation where the surgeon leaves one of the instruments inside the body.
The incident was reported to Australia's aviation regulator, CASA, and investigated by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau.
Regardless of what was the makeup of the tool itself, doesn't make it any higher or lower risk.
I'm sure you've read the ATSB report?
Yes.
How on earth does that happen?
So in this particular event, it was a breakdown in the process. We have a process called tool control, where whenever you use a tool, you sign it out of the system, and then you're meant to sign it back in once you've finished using that particular tool. On this occasion, that process wasn't followed, which has led us just to talk to our engineers, to talk to our people to see whether there are opportunities to improve the process so that doesn't happen again.
I think there are probably some clear opportunities. I mean, as the report said, not only did your staff operate against CASA regulations, someone cleared the plane for service, admitting they didn't even know what the tool was before putting it back in the air for almost 300 hours. It's not a good look, is it?
It's something when we're dealing with a very complex system that unfortunately process failures can occur at times, but they're very rare, and we always have constant vigilance in relation to our processes.
The ATSB report also found a Qantas employee entered false information into the airline's digital maintenance system to say the tool had been accounted for.
This isn't a trend of events that have occurred in relation to tool control or any other matter.
Another perceived issue with the national carrier's operations is its ageing fleet and its ageing maintenance workforce. With passenger numbers returning to pre-COVID level, Auditor Ron Barch, a former Qantas and CASA safety manager, is concerned airlines are overstretched.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If there's any perceived deficiencies, then that will obviously have an adverse impact upon safety outcomes.
Rick Pagus runs a fleet of private jets and believes it's safer and more cost-efficient to buy new aircraft every 7 years.
I would say for us that the maintenance cost is actually higher than the fuel. The really significant cost these days is the labour of the engineers.
Around 1/3 of Australia's licensed aviation maintenance engineer workforce, known as LAMEs, has been lost since COVID, but numbers were dropping well before.
LAMEs are the most critical part to the safety of the aeroplane. Without us, the plane doesn't fly. It's as simple as that.
Rod Wise is president of the LAME union.
I think the average age is 55 or 56, and of that, of the 2,000 below 50, there's only 300 members, so that presents a massive gap. A lot of those guys are going to start walking in the next 5 years. It's a worry, yeah, it's real. Yeah, there's no denying it.
Does that affect the safety and performance of Qantas?
We have the right number of engineers for the fleets that we operate and the number of sectors that we operate as well. We have a very different fleet mix. As we're flying more, we're increasing the number of engineers that we're bringing into Qantas. It's something that we take very seriously in terms of making sure that we've got a pipeline for really good people to continue to come into our organisation.
With 60 new apprentices and an engineering academy opening next year, there are still concerns it won't be enough.
So I suspect that this is going to be an ongoing problem for a considerable amount of time.